We can destroy a bunker with a single missile, but we still can't figure out how to conquer walls that were built before the invention of the compass. The ancients didn't have computers. They had something better, an unbreakable understanding of defense. Today, we're not just looking at old rocks. We're exploring ancient marvels of military engineering. We're cracking the code of the truly unconquerable fortress. We're breaking down the 3 core strategic principles that made these places absolute nightmares for any attacking army. Principle 1. The geometry of death. The best ancient walls weren't straight lines, they were force multipliers. The zigzag walls of Sacsayhuaman turned every advance into a slaughterhouse. You were never just facing the soldiers in front of you. You were being shot at from the sides. The triple walls of Constantinople didn't just stop you, they trapped you. Breaching the first wall was the beginning of your nightmare, not the end. Principle 2. The psychology of the approach. This principle is about weaponizing the very ground the enemy must cross. It's about turning distance, terrain, and time into instruments of psychological attrition. Before a single arrow is loosed or a sword is drawn, the fortress must begin its work, not on the enemy's bodies, but on their minds. It must break their will. To understand this, look at Masada, the ancient Herodian fortress perched atop a sheer rock plateau in the Judean desert. Masada is more than a fortress. It is a monument to defiance, and its greatest defense was the brutal, soul-crushing journey required to even reach its shadow. An attacking army wouldn't just appear at the gates. First, they had to conquer the desert itself. Imagine being a Roman legionary, part of the most disciplined army in the world. Your campaign begins not with a glorious charge, but with a grueling march. For days, you advance through an unforgiving landscape under a relentless sun, the heat baking your armor. Every step is a struggle against dehydration, exhaustion, and the demoralizing emptiness of the horizon. Your water is rationed, your energy is sapped, and with every mile, the fortress on the horizon seems not to get any closer, but to mock you from its impossible height. And then, after surviving the desert, the real work begins. To even reach the walls, you had to build your way to them. The Romans, in their famous siege, undertook a monumental feat of engineering, constructing a massive siege ramp against the western slope. This wasn't a task of hours or days, but of months. Thousands of soldiers and captives were put to work, moving earth and stone, building a mountain to assault a mountain. Every day was the same, grueling physical labor under that same oppressive sun, all while the defenders watched from above. They watched from the shade of their stone walls, well supplied with food and water from vast cisterns and storehouses. They could see your suffering. They could see your comrades collapsing from heat stroke. They didn't need to shout insults. Their very existence was the insult. The message was clear, transmitted through the shimmering heat haze. We are safe up here, and you are dying down there. This is psychological warfare built into the landscape. Every drop of sweat, every aching muscle, every ration of water was a victory for the defenders before the first stone was ever thrown. The fortress forced the attacker to fight a war on 2 fronts, one against the fortifications, and a far more difficult one against their own despair. And don't think for a moment that modern technology makes this principle obsolete. A modern army, with all its air power and mechanized vehicles, would still have to establish a ground presence. They would have to secure that same terrain, endure that same heat, and manage the immense logistical strain of supplying troops in a hostile environment. They would have to do the same thing, and they'd hate it just as much. The psychology of the approach is timeless. Principle 3. The self-sufficient citadel. This is where the art of defense transcends brute force and enters the realm of strategic foresight. The most formidable fortresses in history understood a fundamental truth. A siege is not a battle of stone and steel, but a battle of attrition. It's a contest of wills, measured in days, weeks, and months. And in this grueling marathon, the ultimate vulnerability isn't a weak point in the wall, but an empty stomach or a dry throat. You can't siege a place that doesn't need you. You can't starve a city that has already prepared for a famine. The ultimate defense, therefore, wasn't the towering wall that the enemy could see. It was the hidden well, deep inside that wall, that they could never reach. Consider the desert fortress of Masada, perched atop a sheer plateau. The Romans, masters of siegecraft, expected to conquer it by thirst. But the defenders had a secret weapon. Carved deep into the rock were a dozen vast cisterns, an engineering marvel designed to capture and store every precious drop of the infrequent desert rain. While the Roman legions below baked in the Judean sun, their own water supplies dwindling, the defenders of Masada had vast cisterns that held a year's worth of water. They also had storehouses packed with grain, oil, and wine. They had transformed an arid, isolated rock into a self-contained oasis, rendering the Roman blockade almost meaningless. Or look to the Queen of Cities, Constantinople. Its legendary Theodosian walls were only one part of its defense. Beneath the bustling streets lay a hidden world of immense logistical capacity. Constantinople had acres of underground grain silos and cavernous cisterns like the Basilica, capable of holding millions of gallons of water. When an enemy army appeared at the gates, the city simply sealed itself off. The aqueducts might be cut, the ports blockaded, but the city could live on its subterranean reserves for months, even years. These weren't just forts, they were self-sustaining cities. From the ingenious aqueducts of the Alhambra that made the palace a verdant paradise, to the dovecotes and gardens within castle walls that provided a constant source of fresh food, the principle was the same. Achieve independence. Create a closed loop. Make the world outside the walls irrelevant. Now picture the army outside. For them, every day is a struggle. They are exposed to the elements, the scorching sun, the freezing rain. Their supply lines are long, fragile, and vulnerable to attack. Disease spreads like wildfire through their crowded camps. Morale plummets with every passing week. A besieging army, camped in the mud with dwindling supplies, would often give up before the defenders even felt a pinch. The fortress, with its full granaries and deep wells, becomes a silent, taunting monument to the attacker's failure. This is the tyranny of time, turned back against the aggressor. The defenders weaponize patience. They understand that the besiegers' greatest enemy isn't the garrison on the walls, but the calendar on their own wall. Every sunrise is a victory for the citadel, and another step towards collapse for the army outside. The best way to win a siege is to make the other guy's army starve first. It is the quiet, unglamorous, and brutally effective victory of logistics. Combine these three principles, and you get a system. A system that kills you on the approach, traps you if you get close, and outlasts you if you try to wait. This is why these places were so rarely taken by force. They didn't just have strong walls, they had brilliant layered defense in depth that attacked the enemy's body, mind, and logistics all at once. So, as we draw our journey to a close, what have we truly learned from these silent stone giants? The secret of the unconquerable fortress wasn't a single trick, a hidden passage, or one clever invention. That's a modern way of thinking, always searching for a simple hack or a singular breakthrough. The truth, as these enduring structures testify, is far more profound and intricate. It was never about finding one answer. It was about mastering the entire question of defense. It was a profound understanding of human weakness and physical law, woven together into a tapestry of stone and strategy. These master builders were psychologists as much as they were engineers. They understood the corrosive power of fear, the gnawing drain of attrition, and the despair that sets in when every attack is met with a perfectly calculated response. They knew that an army's spirit could be broken long before its soldiers were. Simultaneously, they were masters of physics, understanding gravity, friction, and force. They knew precisely how a projectile would arc, how a battering ram would strike, and how the very earth beneath an attacker's feet could be turned into a treacherous obstacle. It was about designing a system where every element, the rock, the water, the angle of a wall, worked in concert to defeat an enemy. Nothing was arbitrary. The precise slant of a glacis wasn't just for structural support, it was to expose attackers to plunging fire. The placement of a cistern wasn't just for storing water. It was a strategic reserve, a lifeline that made a mockery of long sieges. The very beauty of the interlocking stones at Sacsayhuaman was a secondary benefit of a design meant to withstand the seismic shocks of the earth itself. Each component reinforced the others, creating a defensive matrix where the whole was exponentially stronger than the sum of its parts. The fortress became a living organism designed for one purpose: to endure. We may have smarter missiles today, and our digital defenses may operate at the speed of light, but in our relentless pursuit of offensive power, we've largely forgotten how to build smarter walls. We have become specialists in attack, in breaching, in finding the single point of failure. This ancient wisdom of holistic, layered, and patient defense feels alien to our fast-paced world. We look for the quick patch, the software update, the impenetrable algorithm, but we neglect the foundational principles of systemic strength. And that is a lesson in resilience that's as valuable now as it was 1,000 years ago. These fortresses teach us that true strength isn't about being unbreakable, but about being adaptable and redundant. It's about understanding your environment, anticipating your adversary's psychology, and building systems that can withstand not just a single, powerful blow, but the slow, grinding pressure of time and adversity. Whether we are building a company, a community, or our own character, the blueprint for endurance is written in these stones. It reminds us that the most lasting structures are not those that simply resist force, but those that are designed with a deep and timeless wisdom.